Hi, my name is Rose Weinberger. Welcome to the September 2017 installment of our customer webinars, a cool tool for experimenting with dashboard and portal color schemes. In the next 20 or 30 minutes, we'll look at how to use Adobe Color Creative Suite to find colors for your dashboards. If you have any questions during or after the webinar, please send them to me at rose@dimmins.com. But first you may ask yourself, why do I need to change the colors at all? Well, it's true, you do have the option to use default colors that are bundled with the product, or you may choose to customize the colors. You might want or need to create a dashboard with a different color theme for a number of different reasons. An obvious first choice for color selection that will improve user adoption rates is to use your company's corporate colors. But your company may have no such corporate color theme, or maybe the colors of the corporate theme just won't work well in bar charts and line charts. So how will you know what kind of colors you should select? Here's what Stephen Few said about color choice. There's a lot here on this one slide, and I don't expect you to read it all now. You can read it later when I share my slides with you. You see that I highlighted the first sentence in his paragraph about choosing colors appropriately. He says, poor use of color is perhaps the most common offense to a dashboard's appearance. And that's important to remember, because if you can make better color choices for your dashboards, they will stand out as being superior to other dashboards. The main thing I want my colors to do is to communicate the data without overpowering the design on the page. So readability has to be number one. I agree with much of what Few says. I know that the main thing that allows people to distinguish colors from one another is contrast. The colors shown in this chart are too similar in my opinion. I could use high contrast colors on my charts to increase the distinction of one item from another, but as Stephen Few points out, too much high contrast will visually exhaust the audience. So I like to select colors that are just enough different. They have just enough contrast for readability, but not so much contrast that the overall look is jarring. How does one achieve just enough? I know that in print, we make sure colors are specified with at least a 30% level of intensity change if we want to distinguish one color from another. But take a look at this experiment I did for screen colors. Each color is separated by an increment of 50 red in an RGB color mode. Yet the first two colors are difficult to distinguish from each other. As you can see, using numerical values of red, green, and blue in a systematic approach won't work. Truly, you'll have to use trial and error to make sure one color is easy to distinguish from others in your chart's color themes. That's why this tool is so valuable. It allows you to use trial and error freely without showing your clients, without committing code to DivePort. It's also fun to use. Whatever your reasons may be for choosing different colors, there are many areas on the dashboard where you need to choose colors, and this webinar should help you with those choices. The areas where you might customize colors include skins, portlets, and indicators. You can learn how to customize these colors in the online help of DivePort 7.0. By the way, product help will be the topic of our November customer webinar. Okay, let's look at this cool tool. Why do I call it a cool tool? Well, it is very nifty, but also it was formerly named Adobe Cooler. I've mentioned it in some past articles and presentations. Now it has been renamed Adobe Color, and it's part of the Adobe Creative Cloud suite of Adobe products. As the name implies, the products are all available in the cloud. Adobe Color also has a mobile app that you might find useful. The first thing you'll need to do after the webinar is over is get an Adobe User Id. Don't worry, it's completely free. Adobe only charges when you integrate your color work with Photoshop and Illustrator, but we will not be doing those integrations. Instead, we'll be taking note of the color codes that we find and using those codes later in DivePort. To get an Adobe User ID, just go to www.adobe.com and click on the Sign In link in the upper right-hand corner of the page. This will bring you to the Sign In page, but some of you don't have an Adobe ID yet, so you can't sign in. However, in the middle of the page there's a link to get an Adobe ID. Click on that and you can easily sign up for a free Adobe ID. Here is the Adobe ID sign-up page. Adobe asks a few questions to set up your profile, but they will not ask you for a credit card number. Okay, let's go live to a demo so you can see how Adobe Color works firsthand. Here is the Adobe Color homepage. You can reach it yourself at color.adobe.com. The first thing you'll see, whether you are signed in or not, is a color wheel. It's pretty cool looking, but without a little background information, it's easy to spend a lot of time whizzing through color combinations and leave with nothing to use on your dashboards. So let's go through all the parts of this interface and start using it so you can do this on your own later. As you saw, signing in did not change the look of this page, but it did give me the ability to access saved themes and save new ones. At the top of this page you have 3 buttons to choose from: Create, Explore, and My Themes. These are the 3 basic areas that you have access to inside of the Adobe Color tool. When you're on the Create tab, the default page you land on when you go to color.adobe.com, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a big color wheel and several color swatches underneath it. 5, actually. You'll also see a drop-down menu showing all of the different color rules embedded in the tool. We'll talk about the color rules later. The color wheel is simple. To modify the colors, drag any one of the small circles around to set what is called the base color. The base color is the one with the white triangle on it. You can change any of the 5 colors shown to be the base color simply by hovering and clicking over the bottom of the color until the Set as Base Color pop-up appears. Once the pop-up appears, click on it and voila, you have changed the base color. Underneath each color swatch is a list of color modes so that you can record the code for each mode and later recreate the color using the given code. The color modes are CMYK, RGB, LAB, HSB, and hexadecimal is always shown. What's great about this is that if your corporate colors are supplied to you in CMYK, you can enter the values in this interface and the tool will translate the color into RGB code, the code you'll need in DivePort. But what if your corporate colors are supplied in PMS color matching system values? Use the table I emailed to you after the webinar is over to convert PMS values to RGB values. The Explore button is the second button of the primary navigation. Explore is a little like Pinterest or Snapfish, but instead of sharing images or photos, you are sharing color themes. If you are short on time and need a fresh color theme, you could simply go to Explore, filter by most used or most popular, Find something you like and use that theme for your dashboard. Say for instance, I like the color at the top left corner of this page, Zeek color. I can hover over the Zeek color theme and a row of buttons appears on top of the color theme. From here, I can use Edit Copy to quickly access the RGB values for this theme. The complete options in Explore are Info, Edit Copy, Download, Appreciate, and Save. You can also search within all the themes in Explore in this search field in the upper right-hand corner of the page. Clicking on Info will show you who created the color theme, when it was created, how many times it's been viewed, its rating, and how many times it's been appreciated. Honestly, I don't see any reason you'd need the information in Info except maybe to confirm that you found a color theme that a coworker made. If you have found a color from a coworker, you may want to leave a comment. I approve this color. You might say something like that. Since this is not a coworker, I'm not going to leave that comment. Edit Copy is the next button. When you click on Edit Copy, the colors of the theme you are exploring pop into the Create section of Adobe Color, like you see here. Here you can take note of the codes for each color. Because DivePort requires RGB color codes, I suggest that you focus on RGB values. To have the tool focus on RGB values only, slowly click twice on RGB to select and isolate just the RGB codes. Hexadecimal codes are always shown. In the upper left-hand corner of the new Create page, there is a Save button. Here, we can either save the theme exactly as it is, or we can edit the theme and save it as a new theme in my library. Let's go back to Explore. The next button is Download. The Download button is pretty useless unless you own other Adobe Creative Cloud products. Clicking on the Download button saves an Adobe Swatch Exchange file that is used to share color themes between fellow users of Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, or other Creative Cloud products. Appreciate is pretty straightforward. It's a like button. And then there's the Save button. I find the Save button to be very useful. In the Save dialog box, I can rename the theme. I can save it to a library. I can add a tag like the name of a client or an industry that this might be used in. I noticed that in order to create a new tag, one has to enter a comma and a space. In this way, you can have two words to tag your color theme. And then finally, we have the option to publish this theme to Explore, or if we do not check this box, it stays private. You might have noticed that Choose Your Cloud and Library had grayed out the words Creative Cloud. When you use the free version of Adobe Color, there's not going to be a cloud to choose. So now we're looking at the info on the color that I resave to my own themes, and as you can see, it shows that I created this color. It has the date and the tags. So if you need to share color ideas with your team, you should give team members the specific name of your color theme and make it public so they can search for your color theme in the Explore section of Adobe Color. Let's do a test. What if I name my theme Ocean? Oh my goodness, look at all the same looking themes called Ocean. This is probably because a lot of people opened up the theme and did a save as. So if you're saving a theme for a team member, you probably want to make something very unique and specific, like Dimensional Insight, Rose Weinberger, September. Let's see if there are any colors that are named with this. Let's get info on this. Yes, this was created by Rose Weinberger. I approve this color theme. And I will leave this comment. So as you can see, it's good to be thoughtful about the way you name your color themes. The last button is My Themes. My Themes is basically a link to your libraries. When you click on My Themes, you'll get a summary of your libraries. Libraries can help you sort what you've saved. If you want to move a theme out of one library and into another, you have to use Edit Copy to open up the theme in Create, and then you can save to rename and relocate the theme. So I like this Great Glen Trails Winter theme, and I'd like to move it into my dashboard color. So I click Edit Copy. I'm going to save a copy, and instead of putting it in my library, I'm putting it in Dashboards. Now if we go back to My Themes, you can see that in addition to being in my library, I'll just delete that one, we have a copy of it inside Dashboards. Now let's look at color rules. If you click on Create, go back to the drop-down menu, you'll see the list of embedded color rules. Analogous colors correspond in some particular way to each other. So these colors are all next to each other on the color wheel. And as you can see, every time I change one of these colors, all of the other colors change to remain analogous to each other. Each color in a monochromatic color theme has only the same hue. Both the saturation and the brightness and darkness of the color is changed from one color to another in the theme. To check this, to see what I mean, you can look at the hue, saturation, and brightness of these colors, and you'll notice each one has a hue of 265. Triad colors simply start with the three basic colors of reflective color: yellow, red, and blue, and keeps the relationship consistent no matter where you are on the color wheel. Complementary colors are opposite each other on the color wheel, like red and green. The relationship between the colors in the compounds selection seem random to me, yet they're fixed so that if you do change one color, all the other colors change in the same way. Each color in a shades theme will have the same hue and saturation. So for this selection, we have the hue 56 and the saturation 53, and that is identical on every single one of these colors if you look down at the bottom here. Only the brightness and darkness of the color is changed. Custom is my favorite way to create color themes so that I have more control over the selection of the colors. Unlike the other color rules, with custom I can change variables of a color independently of other variables, so I can come up with a theme that's just right for me. There's also the Create from Image button located in the upper right-hand corner of the page. The function of this button is exactly what it says. You can create a color theme based on an image. Let's click on it. I've saved a photo of my cats. We can open it, and as you see, Adobe Color immediately identified colors for a color theme. I'm going to name this theme Pumpkin and Bobo and put that inside my Wine and Spirits themes. Now I'd like to show you the mobile version of Adobe Color. The odd thing is that the mobile version of Adobe Color is called Adobe Capture. Just use search in either the App Store or Google Play to download a copy to your phone. Once you have it on your phone, you can sign in using your Adobe ID. Then you click on Sign In and fill in your credentials to sign in. Here's the Start panel on the left. There are a lot of tools in the app, but I just clicked on Color to get started. The app will invoke this pop-up query asking you if it is okay to access your camera. Respond by clicking OK. Once you approve access, the app gives you the choice of 4 places from which to pull a photo. I had a photo on my phone from last winter, so I chose Camera Roll. Immediately, the app determined this theme based on my photo. You can edit the color theme once it has been captured, and then you can save it to one of your libraries in the cloud. When you are ready to sign out, click on the eye in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. This brings you to the Settings panel. You click on your email address, and that brings you to information about your account and the Sign Out button. You will probably have to scroll down a bit to see the Sign Out button since it is hidden. You might think that is all, but Adobe Capture may give you this query before you leave, asking if you are sure that you want to sign out. I thought, yes, I'm ready, and I clicked Sign Out. And that brought up this screen, notifying me that my color theme had not yet synced in the cloud. I changed my response to cancel and decided to sign out later. It would be a shame to capture a wonderful color theme on the fly and lose it simply by signing out too soon. If you like what you saw in Adobe Color, you may also like Coolers or Pantone Studio and My Pantone for smartphones. Also, I'd like to know if any of you have tools or tips for dashboard designs. We'd love to hear from you so that your tip can be shared with others. Just send an email to me at rose@dimmons.com. This webinar has been recorded. That recording will be made available to attendees via an email notification with a link to the recording along with the PMS to RGB conversion chart. Please feel free to share the email link and chart with colleagues. Our next customer webinar will be held in November. In that webinar will review all the ways that you can get help via manuals, online, or embedded in the product. Just look for an email announcing the November times sometime in October. If you have any requests for customer webinar topics in the future, please email them to me at rose@dimmons.com. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in November.